Everybody. Sorry, y'all. Well, I'm gonna let y'all see my face for a split second, but I might just be talking like this. Um, Genuine question for y'all. For men, I really want to know what's better. Do y'all prefer to have a woman in your corner while you on the grind, or do you work better without having a roster? Period. I mean, not even saying that, of course, having a woman in your corner even means that, like, you gotta have a roster necessarily or something like that. But, I've noticed that there's dudes who do better in relationships when it comes to the grind, and there's men who do better without it. My thing was, last time I was really heavily, like, just locked in trying to get to something. I started off pretty good. I was solo. I wasn't focused on no women, just because also, not too long before I was in the grind, I was already getting around a little bit. So it was like, okay, yeah, I'm making this adjustment for the grind. You know what I mean? As I get back into the grind, older now, got a bit more experience. And then, in addition to that, one of the reasons why I ended up making it through and getting what I was going after in the first place was because, excuse me, was because I did get involved with somebody, but I got involved closer to the end. You know what I'm saying? And even then, you could say that things between us was kind of rushed. And then what I ended up working towards went flat over after an appropriate amount of time. It wasn't instantly, thankfully. So, I still had what I worked for even after she was in the picture. Now, my new theory is maybe it's better to have not necessarily a girlfriend, because any dude who done been in a relationship knows what that comes with. You know what I mean? They need attention. They need, constant reassurance. They overall just gonna need a lot to you, especially depending on the type of woman that you're in a relationship with. Type of woman I was in a relationship with, yeah, there was a extreme need for balance in my life in terms of how much attention I was giving to her, how much attention I was giving to myself, and how much I was putting into my work. You know what I mean? It was kind of easy for things to go off balance, but also having that woman in my corner, cheering me on, especially towards the end, because it was fairly easy to get it done in the beginning. Next time it may not be like that. Next time the beginning's bound to be harder. Last time, it got harder a little bit towards the end, and then having her as my motivation, because I'm like, okay, if I get this job, I get this bread, I get to look out for her. I get to look out for both of us. And it was helpful, of course. Yeah, it is helpful. It was helpful for me, and particularly having a woman in my corner, cheering me on, encouraging me. You know what I'm saying? Shit means a lot to a man. That shit feels good. So, plain and simple, I'm just curious, like, what if this time it would be best if I just had a woman, like, in my corner, but who's just sorry. I had a woman in my corner from the beginning who's just a friend. While, mind you, we leave the idea for romance on the table. Because in addition to that, for one, especially nowadays, it wasn't just me. We tend to rush into relationships and shit like that anyway. As soon as you feel a spark, a connection with a person, is okay, well, how soon before we put this us title on it? How soon before we become an us? But as soon as you title it, as soon as you become an us, that's where shit typically turns. That's where typically stuff starts to change. Stuff starts to tip over. That's when it becomes more. Us is more than just the title. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of stuff tends to become us. Like, stuff that was your problem is now our problem. It's now an us thing. Stuff that's my thing becomes our thing, even if I'm the only one that worked for it. So I'm just thinking now it might be best for us dudes, especially when you want to grind. Just have a little cheerleader in your corner who you like. You know what I mean? But, excuse me. Excuse me again. Sorry, y'all. Coughing up mucus. But wait until the mission is completed all the way before you start the us, before you start the romance. I bet you then can't fail. That's all I got to say for right now. Thank y'all for listening. Tune in with y'all later. Deuces.